And today, the topic for which we have gathered here is on the green industrialization pathways, opportunities, and challenges. For this insightful roundtable discussion, we have been joined shortly by Mr. Asif Saeed Loghmani, who is the Additional Secretary of Ministry of Industries and Production, and also Mr. Abdul Jabbar Saab, CEO Automotive MFG Private Limited. Then we have distinguished speakers, Mr. Faisal Shafat Saab, who is the Senior JD of State Bank of Pakistan. We have online speaker as well, Mr. Abdul Alim Saab, who is the Secretary General of OICCI. Thank you, sir, for joining us. We have been joined by Ms. Sobia Becker, who is the advisor of Pak-German Climate and Energy Partnership, GIC. Also, we have been joined by Dr. Paris Kharel, who is the ED of Sauti Nepal. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Ms. Kawal Shahzadi, who is the GHG Lead Auditor, SGS Pakistan Limited. Thank you, ma'am. And we will shortly be joined by Mr. Hassan Anwar, who is the ED of Pakistan Environmental Trust. And we have online speaker, Ms. Chen Yan, CEO, Challenge Fashion Park Private Limited, and also Mr. Farooq Khalil, who is the CEO of Axiom Bioenergy and founder of this. So before we start that, we know that every industrial product that is manufactured in Pakistan, whether it's shirt or cement or textile or anything, that carries a burden of carbon footprint. So in Pakistan, specifically, when we're talking about the manufacturing sector, manufacturing, construction, mining, or the other utility sectors, they contribute a good amount of GDP to the industrial sector, but they carries energy-intensive processes in their embedded processes in their value chain. So we do have a lot of challenges in the industrial sector of Pakistan, but in the same how we have opportunities that how to tackle it. We do have best examples globally, and we also have, CBAM right now, Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, which can be taken as an incentivized tool to, operationalize the value chain in a better way and to make a market in the EU sector as well, specifically when we're talking about the textile sector as well. So there is also a great intervention from the State of Bank of Pakistan on the green taxonomy. So we have so many things in line, but what the mechanisms are there, but the implementation process and how to take it forward from the different sectors and from the different angle, there must be a challenges, and we are gathered here that how we can handle these things. And also, I missed, we have representation from National Energy Efficiency and Conservation Authority, Zaid Amir Saab as well. He will also present what the NICA is doing on the green industrialization framework as well. So this policy dialogue, which we are gathered here, is focused on three main objectives. That how we can make a prosperous agenda for the Pakistan green industrialization by supporting the priorities of government, industries, financial institutions, and academia. And also, we are here together that how to examine the opportunities and challenges that has been posed by the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism and link it with the Pakistan industrial policies and for the competitiveness, resilience, and sustainability. And finally, we can see that how financial mechanisms are needed or in place for the technological interventions, strategic partnerships, and industrial decarbonization partnership and opportunities for the emerging growing market and advancing green development. Thank you, Asif Loghmani Saab, for joining us. Asif Loghmani Saab will be panel chair of the session, and we will take your interventions after that. Thank you so much, sir. So before I would start, I would request Mr. Abdul Jabbar Saab for the welcome remarks. Yeah, over to you.
I think you should combine both my titles. I'm in the private sector. I'm also a member of the Board of Governors of SDPI. So I welcome you all in joining this policy dialogue. I'm say what you would see is that she has already told you that we have made it as a topic like green industrialization, pathways, opportunities, and challenges. So I think we'll be discussing all that, but I'll just try to give you a review of the stock of things which are in my mind, you see, because I have been involved in WTO and all that since 1995. But new things are emerging, you see. In these new things, I would say I will use the word deglobalization very carefully. I think deglobalization is taking place. Nationalism, protectionism, and all these tools are in the place which were actually part of policy of government of Pakistan. I would fairly remember, say, up to 15 years back, then we started adopting and following the multilateral systems. I mean, since post of something like 2000 and all that. So having said so, now the problem of ours is that we have to look into look into the requirement of protecting our interests. You see, I will talk both, I'm saying, in terms of global sort of situation and also the national situation. So in the global situation, we have some directions of exports where we have a higher interest, and we always say higher interest. But in the direction of higher imports, we do talk, but we do not show that much concern, you see. The balancing both of the things remains our priority on the papers, but not actually it has happened so. But let me now come to the green industrialization. As far as green industrialization is concerned, Pakistan is also, I think she rightly said, we are actually, you see, 1/5 of our GDP belongs to the produce and the marketing, you see. Now, it's a very heavy, I would say, amount of the share in the GDP. Now, in this context of green industrialization, I would think that we may extend the scope of many things like climate change, cleaner energy, transportation. You see, even in Pakistan, recording and all that, if you are hearing lately, I must say, mining and constructions after constructions means in the recovery post of floods or even otherwise, you see. So resilience word you must be hearing, you see, resilient, we are resilient. I think that also should be defined, preferably resilience should be say, towards the recoveries, you see, not or otherwise. But having said so, because our additional secretary of industries is here, so taking advantage of his presence, probably I will try to go towards the path where I think we have to focus on. For example, in Pakistan, if we just talk about our exports to the European Union, so she rightly said cross-border adjustment mechanism, because earlier also with the European Union, we had a trade based on GSP plus, in which we sort of captured a lot of, you see, I will not use the word complicated, but fairly loaded obligations, including, many agreements related, I mean, say all direction related from the ILO. So having said so, on the GSP plus also we had obligation. Now, other obligations like cross-border, carbon adjustments and all that, and other things also come up. So now what to do? At least let me talk about my country, because I was always thinking in a globalized themes, you see. But now very currently, I think that I should also come out of the syndrome of globalization. Now it is deglobalizing, you see. Because if the first economy of world, Mr. Trump, who says that climate change and all other things and financing and all that are like things which should be written off or should be excluded from the textbooks even. So just imagine where the world is moving. As far as European Union is concerned, they are also becoming so much nationalist that they have now a drive against the immigrants, you see. So what I'm trying to say is that one has to see its own room or the country where I live in, how we could sort of adjust to these things. But as far as good things about, I must say, green industrialization are concerned, we must agree, you see. Clean energy concept is there, climate change and fighting, become resilient and take all the measures is also good. So that now what to do in this country, you see, Pakistan, you see, our additional secretary here, I would personally believe that they have made a new industrial policy. I was party to an industrial policy in 2012. We also made an industrial policy. I was part of task force. But that policy never, became the, you can say, approved agenda by cabinet for the last 12 years. I was trying for 10 years, but it did not happen. But now they've come up with a new policy. I would think that they should now, this green industrialization should be their, objective approaches, pathways, and all that should be part of that industrialization policy. I'm saying probably we are importing now. The imports are subject to 200, less than 200 goods of standardization surveillance by the Pakistan Standard Quality Control Authority through, I mean, say, PSW. I think that in Pakistan, under the rules of business, Ministry of Industries has certain, sort of campus to overlook. That campus now must enlarge. I personally believe that the standardization and all these surveillances, imports and all that, because they are part of green industrialization. If you are importing, say, equipments which have 90% efficiency, the 10% left out gap is what I will call it is a need of, squeezing so that you are sort of going towards the objective of green industrialization. Power plants. We have power plants who are efficient more than 50%, but we do have power plants who are working on 30%, and even they are yet, I will use the word in the, economic management order, they join the grid, you see. I mean, so these all things are scattered here and there. So this green industrialization probably chapter should be assigned exclusively to the Ministry of Industries, because we have in the provinces under after 18th Amendment in Pakistan, I mean, say, which Pakistanis would fairly understand, and if the foreigners are there, this is arrangement made in the constitution to claim to be empowering the provinces. So the Ministry of Industries has four provinces where there are industries. Even Gilgit GB, yesterday I met one secretary who was claiming to be also industries. So all these things somewhere have to be, sort of brought under one umbrella. I mean, say that could be possibly in Pakistan industrial policy. Now, import of and allow the import of power plants is again a domain of Ministry of Water and Power. Or now what we more, I mean, say, are accustomed to know is that IPPs in the private sector, but their regulatory framework and what they should have effect on positivity of the, you see, green industrialization. Probably the subject I would prefer that should be somewhere integrated, like we have inter-provincial coordination ministry. I mean, say, like that, Ministry of Industry now should, under industrial policy, create such obligations for other ministries so that things remain under one umbrella. Now, if you will just look into other things, I think in Pakistan we have to do a lot. Yesterday we were hearing many speeches in which, I mean, say, it was being said that Pakistan is not having adequate resources, or Pakistan is having just a very, constraints and restraints in having fiscal spaces, in providing money objective for sort of improving or making effects on the green industrialization. That was the, I was hearing from so many learned speakers, but I personally would concede to that. Our friend from the State Bank is here. I was talking with him. He said that concessions are not being given by State Bank, but concessions can be given if there is a fiscal space in the budget. But then under the given situation, I think what personally I will believe that there could be exploration for public-private partnership through Ministry of Industries under the, again, industrial policy framework. I said that may work, or otherwise I think we have a lot of difficulties in order to sort of just recoup or be near to the requirement of the countries where we have export interests. But then the question is that under these export interests, we should not confine ourselves to that. We should also meet the global obligation minus of the United States of America, what I personally now see the way things are going on. So having said so, I think I will leave now up to the many learned speakers who are here. They will talk about a lot about that. And if there will be a need, I will also make intervention with the permission of the organizers. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jabbar Sab. And well, of course, we are cognizant of the fact that the green industrialization could bring the prosperity, jobs, but for these such sort of deep shifts, we need, technological interventions, we need financial mechanisms, and also on the baseline, when we're talking about, we need a basic thing that is embedded in the in the value chain or in the product that the industrial products are made is a MRV system. So moving on that monitoring, reporting, and verification system is very much needed, and we don't have so much technical capacity in Pakistan on that as well. So I wanted to let ask question with Ms. Kawal Shehzadi, who is the GHG lead auditor, that what do you see, what methodological challenges do you encounter in applying the ISO 14064 when we're talking about the monitoring, reporting, and verification of anything, and GHG protocol standards for Pakistan industrial installations, particularly regarding emissions factor and data reliability? Yeah. And also, I would just add on that for we have two rounds of discussion, and for each panelist, we will give 7 minutes for their interventions. Yeah, over to you.
Firstly, I would like to say thanks to Ms. Saleha that she has rightly mentioned a lot of international level regulations are popping out, and even at the country level, and they are mainly focusing on the carbon related quantification methodologies and the challenges. So I personally believe that if we have to, secure a safer place to the EU export, then we must have to, accept all of these new realities, not just to gain the safer future of our industry, but to secure the maximum percentage of the exports. So when we are talking about the main challenges that are currently our industry or the installations within the Pakistan are facing with regards to the quantification of GHG emissions, the main and the prime challenge is the localized emission factors. So even if we talk about the standards like the GHG protocol and the 14064 part 1, which are mainly focusing on the corporate level GHG emissions, even the standards are recommending that for the scope 2 location based, we need to have the local emission factor. And the reason behind we are, very much clear about that, because there is a difference of energy mix what we are having in Pakistan and what the other countries have. So I think there is a greater need to create a public level emission factor database so that industries can be facilitated in that way. So an additional burden of expense they might not face in order to have the reliable emission factors, which are of course somehow the paid resources if we talk about the International Energy Agency and somehow like that. And alternatively, if we are talking about some of the other emission factors that we have currently, like the UK DEFRA emission factor, and even if I talk about the IPCC tier 1 emission factors, so we believe that for the national level inventories, that is fine to use like the IPCC tier 1 emission factor. But if we talk about the individual level facilities or the installations, we see all of those installations have different kind of production processes, and then they have different kind of even local fuels. Even if we talk about the common locally used fuel, which is biomass, even for that we have the challenges to calculate the emission factor. And if we somehow use the UK DEFRA emission factors, then again there is a logic behind that, because the content of that fuel of course might be different from what we are having in Pakistan and what the other countries have. So these are the main challenges if we primarily talk about from the perspective of emission factors, localization.
Thank you so much. And of course, there are challenges for the localization and also to how to measure or report the specific indicator of the green industrialization. Moving on, we have Mr. Farooq Khalili with us. Sir, you're CEO of the Axiom Energy. And what specific innovations or challenges do you see in terms of financial mechanism or in terms of driving green industrialization for the economic growth of the industry? Yeah, over to you.
Assalamu alaikum ji. Thank you so much, Salia. It's a privilege to be here at the Sustainable Development Conference. And coming back to your question, the main challenge that we're facing, there are two main challenges that we're facing actually. The first thing is the demand stabilizer. We need to have a certain policy, and it's my humble opinion to all the seniors that we need to have we need to set a demand stabilization for the industries, so that the new entrants into this business who would like to invest into this business and create sustainable products like biomass product, which my company is inshallah trying to start this business. So the problem is that I've discussed this with a couple of industries as well, but they're unaware of this. What they're using at the moment, they're actually using they do have biomass boilers, but they're using raw agriculture residues or wood chips or things like that. So the problem is that they don't realize that they are burning those, although they feel safe about it, that they're using biomass, but it's still giving out emissions, which in my opinion can be reduced to a large extent if we value add and create wooden pallets or biomass pallets out of it and then use it. I've also discussed this, that they don't have any certain criteria to gauge what emissions are they getting, or the maintenance costs that they're incurring on that. So in my opinion, this is something that needs to be done, but that can only happen if the policy has to be in place, and the policy should support such initiatives so that these things can get into these industries and start flourishing. So this will actually help the circular bioeconomy as well. A lot of waste is agriculture waste is wasted, it's burned, it gets unutilized. So imagine if all that waste, and especially if I talk about my project, which I'm proposing, it's the use of pine needles from the forest, and all that. What we're doing is that we are actually helping the forest actually to grow further. All that pine needles it creates a carpet of those needles, and they're highly inflammable, and they're the major cause of the forest fires. So again, it is going back to the environment. So what we are proposing is that we collect all that pine needles, or most of it. Obviously, we have got 100,000 acres of forest area in Punjab only, so we can't collect all of it. But whatever we can, we'll just put in our best efforts and collect that, and then convert it into wooden pellets, biomass pellets, and then supply it to the industries, and so that they can use it. So what is happening is that it's creating a biocircular economy. All that we will be using the local communities to collect all that. They will be getting paid for it. The jobs will be created, and hence a circular bioeconomy can be. And similarly, not only that, we will also be using other rice husk, other agriculture waste like rice husk or peanut shells that can also be used. So imagine if we start using it on a regular basis. So this will create a positive impact. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Uh, yeah, sure.
So have you approached some businesses
Regarding, sir?
regarding your proposal?
I have discussed it.
And if yes, and what is the response?
Like I said, they are unaware of the fact that they're using raw agriculture waste. So they were quite excited to listen to our proposal. So uh, I am trying to get the LOIs from the industries as well. So which I'm hopeful, inshallah, I'll get it. But as per my verbal discussions with them, they seem to understand the problem, because when I ask them that what are you, they are just dumping all the rice husk, all the agriculture waste into their boilers without realizing, okay, what kind of emissions are they getting? Are they even getting any benefit out of it or not? Because it contains a lot of moisture as well. So what we do is that when we process these all these raw material, we take the moisture out of it, we pelletize it, and then that increases the calorific value of that content. So that's how it is.
Case we should approach different business associations such as textile association or
Yes,
different
sir.
chamber of commerce,
Absolutely right.
so that you should present your proposal there, and you should
True.
also engage with the financial institutions as well.
Yes, sir. We're actually doing that. As you rightly said, I am approaching the Textile Industries Association in Faisalabad and different associations to get their requirements as well and to understand how they are operating likewise. And as far as the financial institutions are concerned, the problem is that if unless until there's a strong policy in place to support these kind of initiatives, they don't feel safe to invest into these businesses. That's my point of view. But yes, that's an excellent idea, and we'll definitely look into it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Farooq Saab, and very great intervention from your side. And it can be seen further circularity in the case of cement industry as well, that they are willing to adapt such practices, and also there are a lot of potential of agriculture waste as well. So how they can utilize in their industries, but the issue is again that how it can be segregated and transported to the right place, and do we have people that are aware of the fact as well? And also we are working on the industrial decarbonization program in STPI, and we have done some sandboxing policy approach for that, and we have seen that the residual fuel is used for the industry mostly in the countries is used voluntarily. There is not such certain cap from the government, so industries are demanding that there must be a certain cap for the government, that such a percentage of fuel should be in your processes, should be come from the circularity or from the agriculture waste. So such type of interventions are needed, and definitely we need such people that could bring such ideas and such interventions as well. So moving on, as we have Ms. Sobia Becker with us, and she is from Park German Climate and Energy Partnership, and GIZ is working very great on industrial decarbonization. And also, how do you see in the case of circularity, when we are talking about that, what are the bilateral cooperations or mechanisms are needed, especially when we're talking about the technology transfer or green hydrogen for the circular manufacturing, or any energy efficient practices, especially when we are talking about the CBAM compliance and for the Pakistan Green Industrialization Framework. Yeah, over to you.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to join the panel this morning. But before I go to the questions that you asked me, Saleh, I just like to reflect on something that Abdul Jabbar Sahab was saying. Thank you very much for your comments and what the colleague was just talking about. Jabbar Sahab mentioned that it's very important that there has to be some sort of unified policy environment, which is maybe flows from the federation and cascades down to the provincial level. And this is incredibly important because we do need this sort of a cohesive framework, which at this point in time does not exist. And building on what Farooq was just saying, it proves the point that was being made about the need for not just a cohesive industrial policy, but also the fact that this policy needs to have inputs from many different ministries. So one could think of immediately the Ministry of Climate Change. One can also think of the excuse me, the Ministry for Agriculture and Food Security. And it's a great privilege to meet Asif Lugwani Sab again. We were together on this Greening the Macro Financial Regime panel that we had recently. And why am I setting out the stage like this? Because when it comes to crop residue, this is the equivalent, I think, of burning currency. When farmers do not, instead of clearing their fields and taking this residue for further processing, when they burn it, it's the equivalent of, you know, आप एक नोटों का ढेर लगा दें और उसको आग लगा दें. We're losing a very valuable resource. This is a policy disconnect, sir, because the agricultural extension officers and the agricultural policies do not give farmers the time and space to clear their land. They're faced with heavy fines. The farmers have no other option but to burn this valuable resource rather than incur heavy fines. Now, if we had community facility centers where the farmers could simply drop this off, and then we had entrepreneurs like yourself coming in who's picking that up, and you have industrial clusters where then these are transported, this is a very, you know, it would be a great value addition. So there's something to be said for looking at an industrial policy via a climate lens. There is something to be said for looking at an industrial policy from an agricultural perspective, because at the end of the day, your manufacturing inputs all come from agriculture. So this is just one example. Now coming to the question of circularity, technology transfer, and green hydrogen. I spoke now a little bit about the importance of an overarching and cohesive policy framework that we need for this country. Related to that is also, and this is again what Jabbar Sahab touched on very briefly, the concept of tariffs. But let me go a step further and talk about the importance of rationalizing subsidies as well. Because till you address the rational use of energy in industry as one example, or till you address this culture of subsidies that we have that increases and encourages inefficiencies in the system, we are not going to go further. I have been speaking to industrialists. When you talk to them about improved or greater productivity, how they can increase productivity, they will turn around and say, Rokda kidhar hai? The bottom line is that when you have more efficient, productive processes, your bottom line is going to improve. Your return on investment is actually related to that. So we have this aspect. Further, talking about the cohesive framework, I'm so happy to see my friend and colleague from State Bank of Pakistan joining us today, because the State Bank of Pakistan has actually made a tremendous step forward in having an interoperable green taxonomy. Now, this green taxonomy, it needs to be linked very closely to the financial system transformation that we need and ensure that credit is flowing for adaptation measures, for mitigation measures, and it's flowing in the right way. So this is an important step. We're getting to it. We recently had German Development Cooperation had a very successful intervention with the domestic domestic finance ecosystem, where we've raised this sort of awareness. And now we will work together with our partners at the State Bank of Pakistan to ensure that there is a closer coming together. The green taxonomy, as you know, is also a fundamental element of the IMF's, the RSF that Pakistan has now is now a part of. And this again closes the loop on adaptation and mitigation. This brings me now, Saleh, to your question on circularity and technology transfer that you've been talking about. What is circularity? Circularity has elements of adaptation when you talk about resource reuse and recycling. And circularity also has elements of mitigation. in terms of how you're being clever in your use and reuse of resources, and through that, how you're lowering your carbon footprint. We still have a long way to go as far as circularity in our industries is concerned. We're making baby steps towards circularity, but there needs to be a strong push from Asif Saidsa, from you, to say that this needs to happen, because we have small scale interventions that need to be scaled up rapidly, that need to then eventually come into legislation so this can happen. I can give you two examples. We hosted a webinar and an exchange session with the cement industry and with universities. The result was that this led way to a collaboration between a UK university and a Pakistani cement manufacturer, where they started adding PET waste to their process, thereby reducing the carbon emissions, the footprint of the clinker itself. So what you have is a lighter product that is much more energy efficient, that's much better for the environment. This is a win. This sort of industry academia linkage does not exist in this country. So being able to pilot, or giving even engineering students the opportunity to pilot what they're learning and doing, and taking these results to the industry and implementing them, and then eventually refining them and scaling them up. Once you have all of these measures, then at the federal level, what is very important is connecting all of this to the NDC. Because at the end of the day, the Pakistani government has to report at international fora about their carbon emissions. And you've seen this from NDC 3.0, for example, the latest figures that we have. And all of this must be connected. We're also launching the Financed Emissions Handbook very soon, which gives banks then the exact information of their lending practices and what the carbon footprint of these lending practices is going to be. So, this is when I talk about coming full circle, we can come full circle like this. Technology transfer, this is a role development partners are playing, can play, and will continue to play in terms of creating this systemic shift, creating a transformation where we're not just bringing in best practice and knowledge from the global north, but also best available technologies in terms of the pilots and the implementation that we're doing. So and this sort of capacity development is very critical, will continue to happen. And finally, Salia, you mentioned green hydrogen. I would opine that before we look to these sort of solutions, the first thing has to be reaching for solutions that are already there. Energy efficiency is the most critical, because even today, saving 1 megawatt of energy is much cheaper than producing 1 megawatt of energy. And 1 megawatt of energy from any renewable source is going to be much cheaper than any megawatt of energy from fossil fuels. So this is key. And this is also what the industrial policy would ideally take into account. And then finally, green hydrogen. It is at a very, very nascent stage, if one can even call it that. I personally feel it's more at a lab, still in the lab right now. But initial studies, and this is something that has been done in Balochistan, especially when we're talking about Rekodik and others. Green hydrogen can be produced in Balochistan for at a fraction of the cost for that it would be produced in Germany, as an example. What needs to be done is simply, well, not simply, it's slightly expensive, but laying down distribution conduits that go from southern Punjab to Balochistan and being able to transport that. The mines also in Balochistan, whether it's Rekodik or it's Sandak, they would be able to get cleaner energy for their operation, because I know that somehow greening critical mineral supply chains is also becoming a topic. But these are things that can be done. However, this is a very, very nascent. there's not enough public support or funding for that, and there's not enough R&D related to that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sobia, and very great interventions, and specifically when you're talking about the indices and what mitigation adaptation practices we need, and also the financial mechanism that is needed for the for when we are talking about the greater mitigation part or adaptation part for the green industrialization. And also we do have the State Bank Green Taxonomy as well. So moving forward, I would request Mr. Faisal Shafad that how State Bank is operationalizing the climate risk integration within the regulation, for instance, through the taxonomy related credit allocation for the green financing windows or carbon intensive sectors, if you have any. Yeah, over to you.
Thank you very much, Salia, and I'm really grateful that you have invited me to be the part of this distinguished panel. Let me give you a brief perspective of State Bank of Pakistan with regard to this climate thing. State Bank is well cognizant with respect to the importance of the climate change, and keeping this thing in mind, State Bank has developed and issued the green banking guidelines. And basically, the green banking guidelines has three parts. One is I'm just trying to give you a back channel view and the journey that we have traveled so far, and how we are operationalizing this thing into the prudential regulations for the banking industry. So this green banking guidelines has three basic parts. One is the own impact reduction, which basically pertains to the banks, that how they can minimize or reduce their carbon footprints. The number two is basically the business facilitation, that how the banks can basically facilitate the businesses in reducing the carbon footprint of the businesses, both for mitigation as well as for the adaptation purpose. And the number third, which is very important, is the environmental risk. So these were the three basic parts, and GBGs were launched way back in 2017. And after that, we have extended the GBGs by issuing the ESRM implementation manual, which is environmental risk and social management manual. And we have also included the social risk in it. And it is an extension to the GBGs in a way that it basically integrates the environmental risk into the credit risks of the banking industry, and it provides specific tools, checklists for the banks to assess their clients with regard to the environmental risk. And in the meantime, we have also issued a renewable energy scheme, which has got a very great response from the industry. And I think right now we have an outstanding of about 93 or 94 billion rupees, and it has contributed more than 4,000 megawatt of energy in the system. And Sobia has rightly mentioned that we have also developed the Pakistan Green Taxonomy in collaboration with MOCC as well as and with the support of the World Bank. And I would like to highlight here one thing, that State Bank has taken this initiative before this RSF facility and IMF reform year. So now the PGT has also been developed and launched, and nowadays we are working on its implementation plan, that how it can be implemented through the banking industry. Further, nowadays we are also developing climate risk guidelines for the banks with regard to the climate related financial risk in line with the BCBS principles. So in a way, if if you see that now, as far as the banking industry is concerned, they have now their structures in terms of governance. They have a board oversight with regard to the climate risk. They have developed their green banking policies. Okay. They have hired the green banking offices. For the implementation of the ESRM manual, we have given them the timeline of November 2025, and majority of the banks have implemented the ESRM implementation manual, and now they have started screening the transactions as well. So the stage is now set. Taxonomy has been issued. The green economic activities have been identified, both for the mitigation as well as for the adaptation. And now the main part that is on the part of the bank is that they need to develop the green banking products to finance those economic activities. And for that, we are developing an implementation plan. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And the State Bank is already have done the green taxonomy, and we are looking forward to more discussion on that as well. And we have, Pakistani perspective, and this is the regional dialogue. So we do have the expert from the Nepal and also from the China as well. So, but before that, we would request Abdul Aleem Saab, who is with us from the OICCI. Sir, have you listened to all the panelists and speakers, and could you please highlight on that giving Pakistan growing exposure to broader carbon measures and sustainability-linked export standards, how can third-party verifiers and domestic MRV services providers help bridge the gap between voluntary corporate GHG inventories and compliance-grade MRV frameworks aligned with CBAM and Article 6 requirements? Yes, over to you.
Thank you very much. Been following up this discussion. This is quite, in some way, quite technical, but let me give the OICCI perspective. I mean, OICCI member companies, as you know, there are these 200 foreign investors who are our members, and they are increasingly integrating comprehensive emission accounting framework across their operation and supply chains. So within Pakistan, OICCI members, including, for example, Unilever, Nestle, Shell, and Coca-Cola, have begun. I'll come to CBAM later. They have begun to map out the carbon assessment, life cycle carbon assessments, and these assessments identify upstream and downstream emissions, hotspots, and help design targeted reductions, such as recyclable packaging, green logistics, and renewable energy sourcing. Many of these multinationals are already aligning their operations with the science-based targets initiative methodologies, which required verified accounting scope 3 emissions. And this ensures consistency with global carbon management framework and prepares them for EU, CBAM, and similar order carbon regimes that demand embedded carbon and disclosures at product level. At the institutional level, we are collaborating with regulators and stakeholders to standardize ESG disclosure and develop a national MRV framework. The SCCP's 2024 ESG disclosure guidelines already encourage firms to report value chain emissions, while the State Bank's green taxonomy defines sustainable manufacturing and transition activities that complement corporate carbon accounting. So members of OICCI are adopting this product carbon footprint methodologies based on ISO 14067 and ISO 14040 and 44 standards. These standards form the backbone of CBAM reporting and enable exporters in sectors such as cement, steel, and fertilizer to calculate embedded emissions and prepare for CBAM's reporting and pricing phases. Beyond compliance, our members are investing in data transparency tools and digital MRV systems, building local verification capacity, and engaging Pakistani suppliers through training and audits to ensure that smaller value chain actors can also meet global sustainability and CBAM aligned reporting requirements. So I'll stop here unless there is any clarification needed.
Thank you so much, Aleem Saab. We will come back to you later because we are now listening. We have listened a Pakistani perspective on the green industrialization, that what are the challenges we have and how we can tackle it through integrated and inclusive approach. And now, moving forward, we have Dr. Paris Kharel, who is the Executive Director of Sauti Nepal. So, sir, you have listened all the interventions from the speakers from Pakistan on the green industrialization framework. And what sort of, South cooperation can be made within our countries, so we can support in specific technology transfer, capacity building, or anything that best practice you have in your country for the green industrialization, for the harmonized. If we are talking about the carbon accounting or the energy efficiency or any industrial practices we have. So yeah, over to you.
Thank you. Now, I found the insights shared by representatives from different sectors in Pakistan very informative. Now, when we talk about carbon border adjustment, mechanism, or for that matter, the deforestation-related regulations in the EU, right? These are a part of their industrial policy, the new industrial policy in advanced economies, and we are, in a way, responding or reacting to those policies. And at its root lies the fact that they have put in place a carbon market, for example, a cap and trade system. They have a carbon price, and they don't want so-called carbon leakage, and hence they are imposing taxes or proposing to impose taxes on products from other countries, including less developed countries, on the basis of their carbon content. And this is despite the fact that there are studies, for example, a recent Asian Development Bank study that says that there will be no meaningful reduction in carbon emissions globally, even with the CBAM of the European Union being enforced. And that if it is extended, such a CBAM is extended to other regions by other countries, then it will have some effect on global emissions. But even then, the nature of the economic growth is such that global emissions will continue to grow, right? However, the disproportionate impact will fall on poor, regions. But despite that, it looks like a CBAM type of measure is here to stay. For example, countries like Australia, Canada, United Kingdom are also in the process of following suit. And it looks like China might also, or we will hear from other participants, might have such a mechanism. Now, in this context, as per one study, up to 40% of South Asia's trade or exports could be potentially exposed, right? Now, again, there are always issues with such estimates because right now only certain sectors have been targeted in the European Union, like steel, fertilizer, a number of products. But there is a potential that such the list could extend to other products that are of interest to South Asian countries, and it's also a fact that, for example, in Bangladesh, for example, in the textiles and clothing sector, which is a major sector there, micro and small enterprises have been found in a survey to be least prepared for this eventuality, in that just barely 5-6% of them have incorporated sustainability related issues in their production structure. Now, before I present on what South Asian countries can do together, I think there's a lot to be done internally also. For example, with regard to our own domestic industrial policies and strategies, right? In the case of Nepal, we have an industrial policy. We have a national trade integration strategy, which is a sort of a national, diagnostic trade integration framework. that does not adequately incorporate these emerging issues of carbon content of trade, the potential vulnerability to taxation in other countries into our policy and strategy framework. Just because we incorporate these things in the policy, it doesn't mean that everything is fine, but we haven't done the basic homework also. So that's critical to include these in our policies and strategies. And also, then are we going to go for example, a national carbon market or not? Right? Do we have a price on carbon or not? But actually, we do have a price on carbon in the sense that if we impose a huge amount of tax, extra surcharges under various headings on, for example, fossil fuel imports, then that's also actually a carbon price. And will that be counted when our products are assessed, say, at the European Union border in terms of the carbon content? We may not have a carbon price as they have, but that's also a carbon price, right? So understanding these technical aspects is very key. And we have grappled with non-tariff measures and barriers in South Asia, in other countries, and these are a source of new, non-tariff measures or barriers. And understanding of them is extremely weak. So again, we can begin with an understanding of these issues, a gap analysis as to whether we have the standards or not, right? Yeah, so we don't have any carbon standards, related to our products right now in Nepal, right? So that's one gap. And then regulations, and comparing those standards and regulations with those in destination markets, right? We can first of all begin with that, and in that process also assess that in terms of a number of points. For example, now, this is about measuring greenhouse gas emissions at the product level. That's what the CBAM does. Now, how do we do that, right? Do you have the institutional capacity to do that? All governments have, industrial standards-related organizations, and actually they also come together from time to time under the aegis of SARC also. For example, under SARC, there is this SARC organization for standards-related organization within SARC itself. But as with many things in SARC, progress is small. But if we move in this direction, that's a natural venue to discuss these things. SARC, Regional Standards Organization, all right? Right now, they are focused, obviously, on things like certain food products, products that are traded or potentially traded within the South Asian region. And this can also be discussed there. And then right now, CBM measures are targeting scope 1 or direct, emissions. Now, they could gradually extend to scope 2, for example, the electricity that we use in the production of a product. Now, Nepal already exports electricity to India, which is green electricity, and imports coal-fired electricity in the dry season, right? So again, taking that into account in our product, it requires, technical capacity. We export green electricity to Bangladesh. We have started to export about 40 megawatts of electricity to Bangladesh. Now, potentially, the garment sector, if it uses it, can maybe count it into their carbon or lack of carbon content of their products, all right? And then what if scope 3 comes into effect? For example, CBAM is extended to the upstream pollution or carbon content also. In that case, we need to, have a detailed tracking and monitoring of it, right? So these are the issues in which discussion is extremely limited in the case of Nepal. In the industrial policy or trade integration strategy, that discussion must, include. And finally, since central bank in Pakistan has come up with, as I just understood, a green taxonomy, the Central Bank of Nepal has also come up with green taxonomy. And usually, when institutions come up with these taxonomies or concepts or frameworks, they also do literature review, see how the rest of the world is operating, right? And in that case, I'm not sure whether they have explicitly taken into account their concepts and frameworks or not, but under the aegis of even SARC framework, central banks can come together and discuss this emerging issue of green taxonomy also, so that going forward, right, when increased trade happens in South Asia, this can be taken into account. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Paris, and very insightful interventions. CBAM is there in Pakistan. Our grid is 1.3 times more polluted than EU. So we do have challenges on that as well, and that's why our textile sector would be covered in 2026 in the CBAM as well, and that's why some of the textile industries are looking into industrial plants other than EU. So they are opening their plants. So that's the challenge we have, and of course we need to work on that, and also be ready when the CBAM would be comply on your industries as well. We have Nepal example, and similar case. I'm requesting Ms. Chen Yan, who is the CEO of Challenge Fashion Private Limited. Ms. Chen, you have listened to all the speakers from the Pakistani side, that what sort of challenges we have in the green industrialization framework, and also we have a lot of mechanisms in place, and but there is a gap which is on the technical part, on the implementation part. So what are the challenges do you see in specifically in your area, and also how do you see the strategic cooperation or partnerships are needed, especially in terms of CBAM or financial mechanisms for the industries? Yeah, Ms. Chen, are you with us? Ms. Chen, are you with us? Okay. I think she will be joining shortly. Is she with us? No? Okay. So moving on towards this next case of CBAM and EU CBAM with us. What sort of interventions are needed for the case of industries in Pakistan? Jabbar Sahab, if you wanted to highlight anything on that.
Just repeat your sentence.
Yeah, I'm just talking that we have listened a lot of speakers from Nepal and also from Pakistan, that CBAM is there, carbon border adjustment mechanism, and Pakistani industries are not prepared for that because our grid is 1.3 times more polluted than the EU. And when we export our products to the EU, then automatically the price of the product that we are exporting to the EU would be increased, because we have not worked on the local product, that the embedded emission is there. So what sort of challenges do you see the Pakistani exporter would foresee in that context as well? And is there any opportunities for them to explore new markets? Yeah.
Well, I think as far as obligations are concerned, Dr. Paras said, I will just use that sentence, that we are in fact responding, or we need to respond towards the needs of industrial policies of our export interest countries, you see. So that would continue, like we talked about CBAM and other, things which are taking place. So these things, I think there will be no concession. What I personally believe is that, because in GSP Plus and all that, I was also involved. So we were trying to evade certain regulations in terms of 27 obligations and all that, but we could not avoid. So difficulties are there and difficulties are in place. Having said so, what I heard, from State Bank of Pakistan's representative, additional director, green financing. State Bank has given guidelines to the banks towards getting more about the customer, to know your customer more. That is what they are focusing. They are even asking for the information would normally the industry in Pakistan does not share, you see. Let me tell you, I'm also in private sector. So what is the crux of affairs there? They are not helping. Rather, they are creating more difficulties to be helped, you see. Now he talked about green financing. I personally believe that green financing should be, he's here, you should pick up this point and discuss over there, because I've been hearing since 2 days many things over here. Green financing means you need to have guidelines. As if you're lending money, banks are lending money, where to lend money, how that project should look like. That project should look like to take care of all what you have spoken since 10 o'clock, you see. It should take care. If some power plant is coming, that power plant should come with supercritical Should the power plant come with what efficiency, and what type of fuel it is consuming, and what type of emissions these are going on. I'm from Karachi. When I go to Hyderabad, all the way on cement factories, I just see clouds and clouds you see going on in the sky. So, but they have been financed by the banks. If they are financed by the bank to know your customer, so what is the surveillance over there? You are actually, in fact, the entrepreneur who is taking money, he is under the obligation of making repayments, adjustments, concessions from the banks are mutually to be agreed. But then guidelines in this respect, I would personally believe are very much absent. We started with Basel and we kept on going on, going on. Such a big manual. You ask all entrepreneurs, provide your all annual returns complete with the wealth tax. I'm the one I can tell you because I know I'm in the industry. So the regulations of State Bank towards the serving the objective development of the needs of green industrialization are yet, I would say, to come. Or I can say for the sake of clarity, they are very much absent, you see. I have been going to State Bank 20 years back, maybe he was not there. And for many, many years, I was on many panels in the State Bank, you see. Now, having said so, okay, probably industrial policy, the way Sobia said, I must say, I'm really thankful to her. She agreed that we should have a unified, sort of umbrella. So probably industrial policy can say that in green industrialization, what are the obligations of the investor? What are the obligations? But then in conjecture to that, these guidelines should be picked up by the State Bank of Pakistan. You are lending money to whom? You are not lending money on the basis of any criteria. Let me assure you that green industrialization objectives not at all appear in the books of any bank while they are giving you money. You see, they will give you money if you are a very strong broker in the stock market. So they will give you money at Kibor plus 0.005. But they will give you money at Kibor plus 7% if you are weak and you in their eyes is not strong. Having said so, I think let me come back. Yesterday I heard State Bank is here, very much important, sort of subject. Yesterday, Dr. Shat was there and so many other, they were saying that the banks are making huge profits. This is the talk of the town in the country. The banks are making money, big money, profits. Many are losing in this country, but banks are not losing. They are making money, you see. If they are making money, whose money? Individuals' money, people's money. So a suggestion came that there should be a climate bank to be financed from some profits of the banks which they are making out of the deposits of the people of Pakistan. So I think he is here. They should pick up these things. Now, self-help. I'll just come to the last point.
Yeah.
That self-help is there.
I think Mr. Chen is with us.
Then you just connect.
Yeah, sure. I'll come back to you later. Miss Chen Yan, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, nice to see you. You have listened all the interventions from the Pakistani speakers, also from the Nepal speakers, and you have listened that we have State Bank green taxonomy guidelines. We have CBAM mechanism, like it's in place for so many countries because the ones that are exporting towards the EU, they might face a bigger challenge in terms of their local economy as well, and also any sort of in your area specifically, when you were talking about what are the challenges do you foresee for the CBAM, or any sort of regional cooperation is needed in that context as well, and also any strategic partnerships for the financial mechanism to support the green industrialization in the countries, in the regional context as well. Yeah, over to you.
Okay, so I first want to explain our practice to like reduce the carbon footprint. Normally, like we are in textile. The material we use, for example, polyester, we all use recycled polyester. So that is and then we also focus on the solar energy and also like the renewable fuel, this kind of thing to reduce the carbon footprint. So I'm not very familiar with the CBAM, the new system, but I'm going to study it. But from our side, like we are very compliant with all the green policy. But when you discuss about the green financing, I have my opinion is everybody knows solar. Solar energy is very good. And then the lady mentioned it's much cheaper than we generate the power plant, the electricity. Then we should ask as many people we can to ask them to use solar panel. And then in China, what we do is they have a lot of financing or companies. They will install the solar panel for you, and then you pay them by like each unit of the electricity. Right now it's around like 20 rupee one unit something. So then this is with all the it's no longer an industry game, it's a financial game because you need to have enough funds to let people able to buy the solar panel and then to use the green energy. So everybody know the solar energy is good. So then now is the government and the bank's role, how you are going to fund that to let as much people as can use. And also there is a gentleman, he raised for the pine needle, the energy. So I just checked online. In China, this is also a very mature business. They normally use the pine needle for like firstly is the pellets, and secondly is the charcoal product, and then the third is the ethanol. It's a very matured business already in China. So if you really want to study something, you can talk with the Chinese people to get all the sorted out. So because I'm not on the government side, I'm on the like a private side. So I just want to say like whatever has been proved, this methodology or this way is useful. So we need to implement it. So that's all what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Yan, and very great interventions. Moving on towards or the next round of questions. Sir, in interest of time, we have just have to conclude the panel discussion, and also we need some policy recommendation that could be feasible in case of green industrialization. So starting with Farooq Saab, if you have any specific policy recommendations or recommendations for the government or the industries that how we can expedite the green industrialization framework in Pakistan. Yeah.
Okay. Read the mic. Thank you. Thank you, Salia. The first and foremost is again the demand stabilization that we need to create. Secondly, the NEQs needs to be updated. Our NEQs need to have. The other day, I was talking to somebody in Pakistan Quality Standards, PSQA, and I asked them about the certain standards for biomass pellets, and the lady was not aware of it. So she said, "Okay, you send us the standards, and then we'll make one." So it was quite funny because I'm looking for the standards. So what I'm doing is that I'm making a benchmark of the standards made by European Union, EU. They have their certain bodies which set certain standards for biomass pellets. So that needs to be set because again, going back to the industries doesn't even know about these standards. And once they understand and they know the standards, then it will help the green industrialization for the businesses, the kind of business that I'm trying to start up. So this is one thing. Secondly, again, one of the learned member mentioned about, I think it was Soviet, who mentioned about the fact that those farmers are forced to burn their crop residues. So we need to have a mechanism for that, so that people who are interested into getting into this business commercially, they should be able to get in touch with them and get hold of. Right now, it's a nightmare to contact individual farmers or growers and then get a bulk quantity out of them. So like I said, for the pine needles, we are focusing on removing around 18,000 tons in a year, perhaps more than that, if we get an opportunity to do that. So we have a plan in place, but it's just a matter of that we don't have those enough finances to do that, because it is a capital intensive business. But if there is somebody who's interested to hold hands, then it can go very, very far away. So again, the policy in terms of financing, policy in terms of setting standards, demand stabilization policy, forcing industries to adapt such practices, that will definitely help these things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kamal. If you have any interventions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Salia. I just want to say that there is a greater need to have localized emission factor database to be available for the industry to have the realistic emissions, because we are doing all of these efforts, to be aligned with the NDCs. And also we know that since SCCP has specific reporting framework, which we call IFRS. So within IFRS S2, we also see that there is a need for the GHG emissions reporting. So just to have the real figures for the investor, this is somehow requested from the government or the policy maker side for the centralized and up-to-date localized emission factor database. Thank you.
So just we are coming to you. Yeah, one policy recommendation from your side. Yeah.
Okay. I think with regard to the implementation of the taxonomy, it is not the only responsibility for the central bank. Basically, there should be a governance structure at the federal level with regard to the implementation of the taxonomy, because it pertains to number of different sector, number of different ministries, different functions. So there is a need to create awareness. There is a need to create capacity building across different sectors. There is a need to develop technical screening criteria for those economic activities that have been identified under the Pakistan Green Taxonomy. And there is a need to persuade the businesses to adopt those economic activities that have been identified under the taxonomy, because it's a demand and supply game. If there's a demand, then the financial institutions will develop their, financial products and will identify ways and means and how to finance those particular economic activities that have been identified. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to implement the Pakistan Green Taxonomy. And the role of the private sector is also very important in that. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Abdul Jabbar sir, just one interventions, one policy recommendation quickly.
I think I must say the additional director of State Bank, Mr. Faisal Shawad, has rightly said, I must say that is also a very important sentence for me to remember, that the oversight at the federal level, you see, you have to first, like we talked about industrial policy, unified, policy. So I would agree with him. What he said will contain everything what we have been discussing about. But let me say a little more, I mean, say just for 1 minute, that the concept note which we had circulated, I must say it is excellent, I tell you. I must say this, it condenses all the information. And over there, we have also suggested that specific emphasis on the objectives. I mean, so let me just try to analyze it. These are the, I mean, say what we have been hearing about. So many things. You see, outline Pakistan Green Literacy Agenda by supporting the priorities. You have added all, means we, SDPI, government, industry, financial institute, and academia. Very good. You see, this is what is required to be done. Examine the opportunity and challenges posed by CBM. We already talked. Yes, we must. You talked about other difficulties which are coming in the way. We must prepare ourselves for, for restoring our competitiveness, be resilient, and be sustainable. Then we have also, from SDPI, identify financing mechanisms. This is where I was trying to talk that State Bank now, may consider, I would not say should consider, because everything they say market-based, market economy, the banks are making money from the people's money.
Okay, sir.
This is the time. That
See,
is the last thing
okay,
what I would.
thank you, sir. Parasab, if you have just quick intervention, because then we have a panel chair who will conclude the session. Yeah.
I think in terms of preparedness, revising industrial trade policies and strategies to directly and clearly speak to the emerging issue of carbon standards and border-related trade measures, which I find missing from my experience in Nepal. And what South Asian countries can do together is, in the meanwhile, identify common issues of interest in this thing in terms of capacity gaps, institutional, capacity constraints, and capacity building needs, so that they can articulate these capacity building needs when negotiating at global forums. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdul Aleem Saab and Ms. Chen. If you have last interventions, then we'll go.
I think a lot has been said. I will only come back to this green taxonomy. I think we should take a position and implement it. That's all. I mean, that's
Great.
my recommendation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Ms. Chen, if you have last policy recommendation or intervention that how it could be more sustainable or some sort of, yeah.
So I just repeat again, like if you see this like some method or some project is makes sense. So you should do all the government should put effort together, try to make it happen as much as you can, because solar energy, everybody know the whole world, but Pakistan's implementation is still pretty low.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, all the speakers, all the panelists, for so much insightful discussion. And moving on towards the last part, and we have Mr. Asif Saeed Lughmani Saab, who is the Additional Secretary of Ministries of Industries and Production, Pakistan. Sir, you have listened all the panelists, and would you like to please chair the panel and conclude the remarks here?
Thank you very much, Soleha. Thank you, SDPI, for inviting me to this occasion. And to speaking to you, learning from you, learning from the distinguished guests that we have. I welcome the international participants, both who are physically here and who are online, for their participation and for coming and joining us and sharing their experiences with us. First of all, I will just like to come to the issue of, because a number of issues were raised here. Some of them are already being catered for in the industrial policy, in the policies that we are making at the Ministry of Industries. But some of the points I'll take from here and, praise my Harun Akhtar Saab, our Special Assistant to the Prime Minister, and my Secretary, so that we can, think how we can fit in those ideas. What we have done already, the policy making nowadays, government of Pakistan is not used as it used to be. It is oriented, focused to the people who are actually affected, whether these be the people in the industry, whether these are the people, the general people, or the people who are affected in the larger context. So we are not making policies in silos. We are, we made a national new energy vehicle policy. We had 65 consultative sessions with all the industries, all the different sectors of the industries in the vehicle sector. Including SDPI, was a big partner in that, and all the non-governmental organizations who are involved somehow in the development economic sectors. We consulted all the universities that are around us. And we have working groups and steering committees comprising of the multiple ministries as well as the provinces. Because, after the attainment, we have to realize that the responsibility of, actually affecting the policies and actually implementing the policies, that does not just lie in the center. The center is a guiding, guiding principles are being made here in the central. The provinces are actually the people, the district governments are the people who have actually implemented. If I have a very strong setup in the Ministry of Climatic Change or the Ministry of Industries to do, implement those policies or help guide the industries in Islamabad or let's say in GB, The actual world, or the actual Pakistan, is somewhere lying in those 4 or 5 provinces that we have. So their coordination and their uh, effectiveness and their involvement and their ownership is also very important. So coming to the new energy vehicle policy, what we did was, we are in an International Monetary Fund program, so we just had very limited fiscal space to give fiscal leverage to the industry to work. We cannot give much of tax exemptions in even on the machinery and raw material, and we cannot have these strong tariff barriers to safeguard our industry. So what we are left was, we negotiated with the fund and we come up with the idea of demand incentivization. Apart from the supply side, we focused on demand incentivization, and we came up with the solution that we had a 1, 2, and 3% tax, which is called the New Energy Vehicle Adoption Levy, that was incorporated in the Finance Act this year. And this is charged on the internal combustion engines of different capacities. The more bigger the vehicle is, the more tax we charge. And from that side, we are collecting around 125 billion rupees, which will be over the 5 years. We will incentivize the electric two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and the small vehicles. Just for your knowledge, we have around 2 crores and 80 lakh IC engines, which we call the internal combustion engines, bikes, and three-wheelers in Pakistan, which account for a larger percentage of pollution and this climatic damage that we incur in our cities and even in our rural areas now. So we targeted that area, and we are now providing a subsidy of around 80,000 rupees for each bike, because there is a price difference between the EV bikes and the internal combustion engine. So just to convince the people, and with the help of State Bank of Pakistan and our partner banks, we have introduced the scheme, and it is being rolled out. The NEV policy was made after a long discussions with the funds, with the people, and that is now in the implementation stage. The network of charging stations will be there. We are making, with the help of IFC, we are making the standards for these electric wheelers, and we have international consultants and local consultants working with us, because in the coming years we will see a lot of EVs coming up. There will be a problem arising from the disposal of the lithium-ion batteries and the graphene batteries. That needs to be catered for. And we have specific chapters, specific implementation teams, which will be working on this. And as Ms. Sobia also pointed out, that the coordination of different ministries is very essential. The carbon credits that the government and the industry will earn, that needs to be monitored. The database needs to be maintained by the Ministry of Climatic Change, and these all activities needs to be coordinated. So we are cognizant of that, and that I hope will be a success story in changing the carbon footprint in this country and reducing the greenhouse emissions. And the benefit will go to the general people, to the environment. We'll have save a lot of money that we spend on health sector, and we are the most effective country in the world, we all know, in terms of the climatic change. And whatever is happening right now in Lahore and in Peshawar and even in Islamabad in the coming days, in terms of the smog, we all know that. Coming to the industrial policy, I will say that yes, we have specific chapters on this, and of course, with the help of the provinces and the other ministries, we will be focusing on green clusters of industry, especially in the areas which we can have land. We have land in the Pakistan Steel Mill area and Port Qasim. So we are planning that we should have green clusters of industries. But apart from that, already existing industries, that needs to be shifted towards environment friendly practices in terms of controlling their emissions or pollutants. And as I understand, GIZ as well as some other donors, they are already working in the tanneries industries. One project in the cement industries has already been initiated for controlling their emissions. So there are two-pronged strategies. One is that when we come up with a new industry, which again is regulated by the provinces, we have to take them into confidence that those industries, when they come up, they should use those technologies which are environment friendly in terms of their emissions, in terms of the production of power that you use. And the existing one, we should facilitate to switch over to those practices and those manufacturing practices, that help mitigate this problem, because otherwise we'll not be. And as our panelists here, they all learned people, they shared that our products will be more competitive if they are, friendly. They are made in the processes which are friendly to the environment. So coming to the State Bank of Pakistan, State Bank has done a wonderful job. They are working with us in the NEV policy. I personally know that the solar policy, the intervention that the banks had, it has a very strong impact, not only in the commercial sector, but also in the domestic sector. A lot of people are, switching because of that availability of finance, which a normal person cannot afford 14 or 15 lakh rupees out of his tight budget. But that has really worked, and some of the banks have done a marvelous job in that. But I'll request State Bank of Pakistan, and we have included this in our NEV policy, that for the green the electric vehicles and the range extended electric vehicles, those vehicles should be, the credit line should be increased, because their prices are higher. The present credit line, there's a demand from the industry and the consumers that the present credit line does not cover most of the models of especially four-wheelers. So that will be a request to the State Bank of Pakistan, and we have included that in the policy, that preferably if there is an internal combustion engine vehicle and there is an electric vehicle, the electric vehicle interest rate should be also lower, and they should be more facilitated, and the credit cover should also be larger, because already we are doing this in the scheme that we have launched. It is called the Pakistan PAVE scheme, which is the accelerated vehicle electrification scheme. And for this, we are just trying to create the demand. Once we will see these bikes, these electric bikes on the roads, already there are some, but there are around 50 to 55,000 bikes and four-wheelers on the roads of Pakistan. But once the government incentivizes this, and we see more and more bikes, so people will understand that this is a reality and this is working. And there are people who are looking after the standards, and these will just not go into the dump. So this is something which we do, and you also, in the procurements also, I would like to share with you that we have given very stringent 18 standards for the supply of those bikes, so that the people who are buying those bikes, they should not be, crying over it, that what we have bought, even with the government subsidy. So we are trying that even the lithium-ion batteries that they will have, the minimum life cycle is 5 years. So that's what the government is trying, and that's the kind of interventions that we are doing. And as for our international guests, must say, everybody has knowledge, everybody has wisdom. The Southeast Asia is the worst hit area in terms of this climatic calamities. So we must cooperate with each other. We must learn from each other. Our Nepalian friends, our Chinese friend, OICC, they have given very good, suggestions. Jabbar Saab, State Bank of Pakistan, Ms. Sobia. Whatever I take from here, I'll discuss it with my seniors, and we'll try to inculcate all those things into our industrial policy as well. So once of all, thank you very much. So kind of you for inviting me.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Saif Saab, and thank you all the panelists for the great interventions. And we look forward to have more collaborative dialogues like this. And now I would request for the group photo. Please join us over there for the group photo. Yeah.